Why don't we tell people a little bit about this song? I don't know which of the two you want to do first.
Yeah. I could do play something entirely new, which is always interesting to play because it's sort of strange to do a duet with myself. But I like to play it because it's got sort of all these different songs hidden inside of it.
Awesome.
Sometimes I have a mic stand in. Where did we go? What did we do? I think we made some time. And it wasn't quite me, and it wasn't quite you. I think it was someone entirely new. Well, I just can't stop thinking. So, you say I was different, and we hadn't before. Of course not. When would I have ever? I'm so sorry. No, don't be. And now you're here forever. What about you? What about me? Well, you're here too. We're here together.
It is so cool to hear that live, I have to say. Like, hearing it on the soundtrack is awesome, but sort of seeing, I guess it's nice to see sort of like behind your process, because you hear a lot about the demos and stuff like that. We've been talking about your process all night, but sort of seeing it in its, not raw form, but I guess a stripped down version. This is Steven Universe Unplugged.
This one is, I can hold this again. This one is, it's sort of, our theory for it, my theory for it was that it's got like all these other fusion songs sort of inside of it, but they haven't, it's like the seed of all these things that are going to happen. So it's actually got a little giant woman hidden inside of it. It's got Stronger Than You. The end is actually Stronger Than You. It's even got a little of Strong in the Real Way inside of it. All the songs pertaining to fusions are like, it's like they haven't come into existence yet, but they're in the air. That was sort of the theory.
Nice. Is this sort of the only song that really samples a lot of the other ones?
On purpose. Yeah, I think, well, there are ones in the future that, well, I don't know. That do
Anything's possible, Totally Random 21. Cool your jets. I know you're here.
Yeah, I like to think of, as we've gone into the show, I like to think of certain melodies as like sort of codes, like the like whenever that comes in, I want that to, to mean like what Stronger Than You means, and then like whenever you hear that, I want you to know like that means you should go to that place, like that Here Comes the Thought would take you. So as we've gotten deeper in, I like to use those cues to sort of make you remember what those meant, and then build on that.
Yeah, well, there's such a powerful sense memory tied to music, so it makes sense just even having just like a lick of this, a run of that here and there is going to sort of, you're not like, why do I feel this way? Oh, the show is working.
Yeah, I think also like I'm super. One of the things that me and my brother played together a lot was Ocarina of Time, and I think the way that those songs could be that short and so iconic, and and like have this purpose and this image repertoire that's tied to them, has always been a huge influence on me. Like I guess maybe that's why I think of them as sort of a code, because I feel like they can have that function. I mean, that game, they would literally take you to that place. But yeah, emotionally.
Awesome. And you have another song you're going to play for us.
Yeah.
It's a little song called Both of You. Oh, was right.
Yeah, I never bring my guitar guitar places, so I thought I'd put, this is the first song I wrote on guitar. Ooh. Actually, kind of hard to...
Yeah, not the best guitar chair.
I'm used to having a tiny instrument.
Yeah, we should have brought a dulcimer.
Yeah. Let's see, I can do this. Why don't you talk to each other? Why don't you talk to each other? Just give it a try. Why don't you talk about what happened? I know you're trying to avoid it, but I don't know why. I know you both need it. You might not believe it, but you've got a lot in common. You really do. You both love me, and I love both of you. I know you both need it. I know you both need it. Someone who knows what you're going through. And you might not believe it. You might not believe it, but you've got a lot in common. You really do. You both love me, and I love both of you. You both love me, and I love both of you.
Yeah, that was awesome. Even as my arms were screaming at me, burning on fire, that was so good. No, it's fine. Endorse me for arms on LinkedIn, please. Yeah, tell us about where this song came from, the impetus for it, because it's such a, it is such like a touching moment in the show where Stephen, having to sing this, because he's in a difficult situation to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, I think doing a musical episode was such a long-term dream, and doing this episode was another sort of long-term dream. Their characters and how they relate to Stephen and what it means to Stephen is just a long time coming, and that's so obvious, like that he loves them, and then they can be so caught up. It's not that they forget. I think that's the thing about it. They know that. It's not new information. And it's so simple what he'd like them to do. So, it actually, that one I wrote the first try.
Wow.
I didn't do a bunch of versions. It was just what it was.
When were you like, wow, how often does that happen where you're like, this is exactly sort of what I envisioned?
A few times. I think I Can Never Be Ready was the fastest I ever wrote a song. That one was just really fast. I think this one was the second fastest. It's rare. I usually do a lot of versions, but sometimes it's just like, oh yeah.
Do you ever psych yourself out a bit, being like, I wrote this a little too quickly, or do you sort of just know when it's right?
Yeah, when it's right, it's right. I think mostly I stress out when I know that it's wrong. That's usually how I feel. So if I don't feel like that, I'm like, well then, that's great.
It's working.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you mentioned, obviously a musical episode is no small undertaking. What was your biggest takeaway, I guess, from that episode? Like, what's something you learned making that episode?
I suppose just that I love writing music with Ben Levin and with Jeff Liu, because we wrote a lot of that together, and with Ivy Sarashi. I just loved doing it, and I want to do it all the time. I was just it's really hard to do to have like 7 songs in 11 minutes, but there's so many things that I like about musicals. I love when things reprise and you get to hear things in a new context. And yeah, I think we got to do a sort of heightened reality because it's a musical where things are a little, you know, people don't talk a little unnaturally, but it's a musical. That's what it's like in a musical. Yeah, it's just really challenging. I don't have like extra time to write these songs. All the episodes are technically the same, so I've started it way in advance. We knew we wanted it to be musical, and some of those went. A lot of them were collaborations, and Ben and Jeff wrote Mr. Greg in the middle, and Ben wrote Empire City, and me and Jeff teamed up on Don't Cost Nothing, and it was just, we were going back and forth all the time.